Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rochelle from Rochelle.Handmade.Designs, and in this video we will be doing that last part of the shirt. If you're using the new pattern, it's McCall's 8067. If you are using the old pattern, it is McCall's 7629. This is the final part of that shirt where we will be sewing the sleeves together, hemming, adding on your buttonholes and your buttons. So go ahead and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this final part in order to construct this shirt. All right, so welcome to part 3 in the shirt using McCall's 7629, or if you have the new pattern, it's McCall's 8067. So the last time we did the front, the back, the facing, and then we attached the facing onto our shirt. Now in this last portion of the shirt, we will go ahead and attach the sleeves, hem them, create your hem at the bottom, add the buttonholes and the buttons, and then you are done with your shirt. So let's go ahead and get right on into what we're doing today. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the shirt so far, what we have gotten done from the last part 2, so this is part 3 now. So what we're going to do is go ahead and attach your sleeves. So the first thing you need to do is go ahead and move your shirt out of the way. Grab your sleeves, which is pattern piece number 9. And what you want to do is you want to create a basting stitch. Now I believe the seam allowance is 1 1/4. However, I am just going to do a 1-inch hem at the bottom instead of 1 1/4, because all I'm gonna do is serge my hem at the bottom. I'm just gonna serge it, and then I'm just going to create a basting stitch 1 inch, and then just go ahead and press it up and stitch it in place. So go ahead and create your hem on your sleeves now. And while you're at the sewing machine, you want to create gathering stitches. Now, what I'm going to do when I create my gathering stitch, on the side where it has 1 notch, I'm going to use the longest stitch, which I think on my machine is a 5. So I'm gonna back stitch at the beginning, at the notch, come all the way around until I get to my double notch, and do not back stitch at the end. I'm just gonna pull some thread. Now I'm gonna do my first gathering stitch at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to do the second one at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. That way I will not have to rip out any seams doing at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that's how I do my gathering stitches. Instead of using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and 1/2 inch, I do 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to prevent having to use the seam ripper to rip out seams later on. So go ahead and do that. So go ahead and make your hem, go ahead and create your gathering stitches now. All right, so now that I went ahead and did my ease stitching around my sleeves, I went ahead and did my hem on my sleeve as well. Go ahead and grab your shirt. And what you want to do is lay it flat. Now make sure that your seam allowance is facing the back of your shirt. And then what you want to do is go ahead and match up your notches. Now if you have not created some gathering stitches or ease stitches, go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to pin at the very front. So this is the front of this portion right here is the front of my shirt. So I'm gonna match up the notches, which is right here. Match up that notch. And then pin at the very end. And then you're going to pin around the entire armhole. Now do not forget that you have a dot right there. That dot matches up to your shoulder seam. So you want to match that up as well and make sure that the seam allowance is facing the back portion of your shirt. And then you want to go ahead and pin those 2 double notches in the back and pin at the end. Now what you're going to do while you have the ease stitch is basically you want to ease it into the armhole. So what you want to do is make sure that you create enough ease stitching to make sure that this is gathered a little bit, eased in, I should say. And once you do that, go ahead and pin all the way around after you make your ease stitching. Do that now, and then you're going to go to the sewing machine using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and at the end, then finish off your seam allowance. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so I went ahead and sewn in the sleeve using the flat method, and I finished off my seam allowance. So now what you want to do is take the front and toss it over to the back so you can have right sides together, and you're going to pin the side seam. So go ahead and pin the side seam. Make sure you pin at that notch. And now in the instructions, it wanted you to pin from the dot. Now I do not have a dot on my side seam because I'm just gonna sew the entire side seam, but you should start at that dot somewhere right here. And then you're going to sew from the dot, back stitching at the beginning and all the way up through your sleeves and end at your sleeves. And then you're gonna back stitch at your sleeves and sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now, because I'm starting at my hem because I do not want that slit, you can read the instructions to figure out how to do the slit. Basically, you're just going to press your seams open and then do a narrow hem where the dot is all the way down and attach it that way and sew it that way, I'm sorry. So now that I have my side seam pinned, what you're going to do is go over to the sewing machine, and using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish off my seam allowance. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so I went ahead and finished. So I went ahead and sewn the side seam, finished it off, pressed it to the back. After I did that, I went ahead and pressed up the hem allowance right here, which is 1 inch. Like I said, I pressed up 1 inch on the hem allowance, and then sewn on the right side, stitched it in place, the hem in place. Now, the only thing that's left for you to do is go ahead and make your buttonholes. I'm gonna leave you to do this on your own because we all have different machines. So what you need to do is go ahead and make your buttonholes on this side. So this is your left side when wearing it, but it's your right side when you're looking at it. So make sure you make your buttonholes, it's just 4. Make your buttonhole on your sewing machines. After you do that, go ahead and attach your buttons on the right side when wearing it, left side when looking at it. So this is looking at it, it's your right side buttonholes, left side buttons. Once you do that, you are all done with your shirt. You have just finished sewing your shirt, that third top as part of the top series part 5. It is Michele 7629. Go ahead and take some pictures. If you decide to do this, make sure you tag me on Instagram at Rochelle.Handmade.Designs. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. So until next time, keep sewing.